What's going on today, Guardians? Hey, listen, I wanted to talk today about two pulse rifles. We're going to be comparing them neck and neck with one another, and it is, of course, Blind Perdition and the Clever Dragon. Now, the Clever Dragon, of course, dropped in this past week with Iron Banner. A lot of people were talking stuff about it, but I wanted to go ahead and get my hands on one and see exactly how it was working, and not just any Clever Dragon. I wanted one with high caliber rounds. I did not want to compare it to Blind Perdition unless it had that perk with it. And lo and behold, man, I had a friend that actually snagged one, and I got to play it a bunch, man. And let me tell you, it was working wonders. Before we get started, guys, I just want to say, man, thank y'all so much for the love and support. And today, if we can actually go for 2,000 likes, man, we've been nailing that 1,000 mark, man. Been killing it. Y'all been slamming them like buttons. I've been appreciating it so much. But I'm actually going to be shooting for 2,000 on a lot more of my videos, man. So if we can hit that, that'd help me out a bunch. I just want to tell you how much that's meant to me. So fellas, let's go and get started on this detailed comparison.
That it was evident. I told her I'm not sure what you want, but I just can't stay away. I told her I'm not sure what I want, but I will love you for today. Fall into me.
Okay, guys, so let's just go through the stats and everything on what's on this Clever Dragon. As you can see right there, man, it is, of course, that 77 rate of fire for impact, right up there where Grasp is. And also the range there is 22 with 94 stability. Now, you're probably wondering why my range got hit. Hand laid stock, of course, reduced that range, but greatly, of course, increased that stability. Now, if I took it the way it is, simply because the Clever Dragon, the playstyle that I felt around this pulse rifle was actually up close, man. It was grinding people, as in I was going head-to-head against Last Word and stuff like that, simply because of the high caliber rounds that I had on this thing was staggering enemies just so terribly. Now, Headseeker, of course, is that last and third and final perk. Not necessarily the perk I would say you would want on your Clever Dragon, but it doesn't hurt, as in it doesn't really help your time to kill any at all. So it's not something that I'd say needs to be on there, but a little bit of damage buff doesn't hurt at all. So let's get into this gameplay right now. Okay, so let's go over the pros about this weapon, of course. Pros being, it is in that archetype. That archetype of what Grasp Malik is in. That archetype that I've said for such a long time is such a nasty archetype. Another pro being the fact that this thing also comes with high caliber rounds, dude. Those high caliber rounds do a great job at flinching enemies, throwing them off in those 1v1 fights, thus putting you ahead. And it's the thing that actually bailed me out a lot of situations that I would get into a fight in the beginning of a fight. I had to be only half health, and I would still come out winning and getting on top. It's because of those high caliber rounds flinching them so much, those initial flinch that they can't compensate for, and thus that gives me the victory. Another thing that's very subtle, something that's small that some of you might not even have thought of, is the fact that this weapon is extremely small. I know that sounds crazy, but this weapon is so small to the fact that I felt like it doesn't mess with my field of vision in any kind of way. I don't know if any of you have ever felt this way about Grasp. I always feel like Grasp was very bulky in a way. It was very big, and so in doing so, having a weapon like that, I felt like my field of vision at times could have been a little bit better. This weapon is such a small, tiny weapon, man. I mean, it feels like a little SMG of some sort. And it reminds me kind of like of the Unbent Tree as well. Unbent Tree is also a very small auto rifle. Neither one of those weapons, though, are huge, thus allowing us to have a better field of vision. Maybe that's just me, man. That's probably just me, but that's something that I noticed, something that I appreciate, and something I just kind of wanted to bring up to you guys. Okay, so let's talk Blind Perdition. Now, of course, this is the Adept version as well. Like I said, the only difference between the Adept version and the other version is that intrinsic perk Snapshot. Now, I feel like Snapshot does play a role when comparing it, though, to the Clever Dragon, because, of course, having the ability to snap into that ADS quicker, thus landing a shot, maybe even a couple crits, or a full burst, is something that will definitely put you ahead in that time to kill. But let's just get into the rest of the perks. As you can see right here, guys, the same archetype of what you got from your Hawksaw 73 7 impact. So of course it's slower than what you got with your Clever Dragon, but the impact is thus a little higher. My range is also a little better as well. Stability a little worse than what I had on my Clever Dragon there at 89. Now high caliber rounds is the big thing here. Counterbalance also plays a very big role in this pulse rifle, keeping everything vertical, keeping everything stable, something that you can definitely take note of when playing with this weapon. Now let's talk gameplay. So if you've played with this pulse rifle, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see how it does in those 1v1 engagements. It does a great job. Not only that, man, it seems to just have that extra kick with a little bit of more impact than what you got with Clever Dragon. Now, I will say this, the time to kill on Clever Dragon is of course a little bit better, but again, you've got to compensate for the time that you actually go into your ADS. Unless you're already aiming down your sights and coming around a corner, there's that moment, that brief period of time. See, I even got into a couple custom matches yesterday and was messing around with some friends, and you know, sometimes Blind Perdition would win out in those fights. Sometimes Clever Dragon would win out. It really depends on the player and who lands the first initial shots and your strafing abilities. Now, I will say this, man, I've always been able to strafe just fine with just about any pulse rifle. There's something about the Hawk Saw archetype, man. Something about this archetype that you see Blind Perdition line itself up with. It seems to be an easier pulse rifle to get into a strafe fight with. And I will say, if you're going to be using this archetype, you need to get really good at strafing. But something about the ability to just kind of go left to right, and also be spamming your R2 button. Like I said, it's just something that it's easy to control, it's easy to maintain, which is the big deal when you're in those fights and your health is going low and your screen's getting all blurry and stuff. And that's something that I've always really appreciated about this archetype, allowing me to always have the ability to strafe back and forth. Alright guys, so if I had to choose one of these weapons, man, if I had to choose which one of these I felt the most comfortable with, man, I could tell you right now, both of these are great weapons. But the Clever Dragon is by far the superior one in this thing. I know it, dude. It makes us all sick, dude. It is sickening. I couldn't believe that the archetype that this weapon fell under, they actually slapped it with those high caliber rounds, man. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how great that stability was looking for me as well. And I also couldn't believe the gameplay and the amount of Rumble matches that I went into. Believe me today, guys, I tried to put myself in sticky, shitty situations in hopes that Clever Dragon might have some faults. Because guess what? I've got God Roll Grass on Alex, and I felt very comfortable with my grass, and I felt like, man, Clever Dragon is not going to impress me more than what I already have. And I can tell you right now, I need to get this weapon. My friend has this weapon, I don't yet, and I'm super jealous, man, for good reason. This thing is nasty. It is everything that everyone has said it was gonna be and more, because a lot of the things that I saw were people that didn't even have high caliber rounds on it. And I can tell you right now, if you get the rolls that I even got on it, man, you're gonna be destroying people. And that's what I felt so confident in all of my Rumble games today, to the point that I would put myself in last word range. I would put myself in situations where I was half or a quarter health, and somehow this damn weapon would pull something out of its ass and win those gunfights. And let me tell you, I cannot ever look down on a weapon that can do those things. And that's what I felt like I was running into, a lot of the situations I was running into those Rumble matches. Well guys, that is your weapon comparison. Get your hands on this weapon, man. Either one of these would do a phenomenal job to you. Again, guys, I had to just say the Clever Dragon is the better of these two, though. Alright fellas, thanks so much for coming and watching. I'll catch you guys later.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.